The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv, and a very hectic Wednesday, the day after a major incident. So let's get to our COVID numbers, and we can deal with the breaking news in Fall River.
As of yesterday, we have 657,478 total cases. New cases is 359. Total deaths is 17,419. 6 new deaths. Bristol County had 66,184. The numbers keep bouncing around, but we're still low, which is good. And Fall River is still in the yellow. So that's a good thing. But
yeah,
as you said, yesterday we had a major incident in Fall River over at Griffin Park on 5th Street in the Corky Row area. And a 14-year-old boy was murdered. A 29-year-old man was murdered. And a 19-year-old gentleman was shot in the leg. He's currently at Rhode Island Hospital undergoing treatment. The police department has not released any information on this shooting. The mayor only said Fall River deserves better. That was a substantial part of of what he said. He looked like he had been hit in the face with a crap pie. Didn't look that great on camera. I don't know if I would look that great on camera either after a shooting of a 14-year-old. That's kind of traumatic. But before I go any further, I received from Mr. Rabello, Andrew Rabello, the Assistant Superintendent and Principal of Diamond Regional. Good morning. Unfortunately, we are starting the day with disheartening and tragic news. Yesterday, a 14-year-old boy was shot and killed near Griffin Park in Fall River. The student attended the alternative program in Fall River. If you are affected by this or struggling to process the news, please seek out your guidance counselor or an adult in the building. Part of our work at Diamond is to improve our community, to help mold and develop young adults to create a better world and have a generational impact on our region. I denounce this senseless act of violence and vow to continue to provide students with the opportunity to grow personally in a positive way and obtain life-ready skills to set them up for success in life. Andrew D. Rabello, Assistant Superintendent, Principal, Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School. The student did not attend Diamond. The student was in the alternative program, which I believe is the Resiliency Preparatory School, which is the old Diamond Tech building, Durfee Tech building over on Rock Street across from the courthouse. But that is one of the... Go ahead.
That's a euphemistic name, isn't it, for students that are problematic?
Yes.
So, as you said, this is a tragedy, but the mayor's saying we don't deserve this. Well, people don't deserve anything except to be treated fairly, and that doesn't happen in this world. This is the real world. The rest of the world has finally come to Fall River. We always had a lot of crime, but we didn't have a lot of murders. So we're seeing this happening all over the country. And this is, to me, a failure of government, because we are seeing on every level political agendas being pushed over the safety of the public. The guarantee of domestic tranquility has long been forgotten by our politicians. It's all about building bridges to nowhere, tunnels to nowhere, projects in their trillion-dollar bills, redefining infrastructure to include baby diapers and baby bottles and anything else they want to fund, and then say in the same breath, defund the police, turn the criminals loose from the jails and into society, allow illegal aliens, and now we have AOC that walking train wreck, saying that we should not be deporting criminal aliens. So let's keep the rapists and murderers and gang members in the United States, because it's racist to get rid of a criminal that is in this country illegally. So we should get rid of everybody that's in this country illegally, but especially the ones who commit crimes. So this country is failing. It's failing its citizens. This city is failing its citizens.
No argument for
I don't
me.
want to hear we don't deserve this. I want to hear what we did to prevent this, and nothing's perfect. I'm not saying this wouldn't have happened. But have we seen anything about the police department, about what they're doing for gang problems, for problems like this, to identify regional areas? Have we seen neighborhood associations be resurrected and become part of the policing when they used to have neighborhood watch groups? We had things like this to help the community come together to prevent this. But what do we talk about? We talk about free movies, car parades, pay raises, stipends. I'm sorry. They're failing. They're failing everyone on every level. And this is a problem that is going to be very, very, very slow to go away, if it ever does. And the only way it will ever go away is when the public rises up and demands that we address public safety, that we demand that we have a safe city, and we prioritize money going to them. Not jobs in the office, but patrolmen on the street. And you can't get it by having a police officer on every corner, because it's unaffordable. But there are programs. But the thing is, what I want to see first is, I never want to hear every time we're short of money, the first thing they talk about is we're going to have to cut police and cut fire. Because any city council that supports that should be voted out of office, should be recalled. Because the last place we should cut is public safety and education. But education with money going to teaching in the classroom, not to CFOs and deans of students, and not to office jobs and promotional jobs, to cops on the street, to programs. Where is it? Where are we looking at these things? What happened in Detroit? That Detroit police chief who just retired cleaned up Detroit. And I don't know if most of you know it. I'm sure you do, CJ, because you lived up in that neck of the woods for a while. Detroit was one of the most dangerous cities on the planet Earth.
Yep.
I remember going to a convention, firefighter convention in Detroit. And we arrived on a Sunday. The convention started on a Monday. And some firefighter from some other department, obviously, from another state or something, he got mugged in the hotel parking lot the first night. And then when we got down there, they brought all the delegates together and they said, listen, there's a place called Greektown, I believe it was, that was about 4 blocks away from the hotel in downtown Detroit. And they said, if you go there, do not walk, take a cab. And if you go there, do not leave that town where they have a bunch of restaurants and stuff like that. And if you do, make sure you come back by cab. And of course, the question is asked, why? They said, well, you can't. You won't make it across that 4 blocks. You'll get mugged. You might get killed. You might be shot, stabbed, mugged. Chances are very high if you do. And we said, well, how can we go there? They said, because they hire virtually the entire Detroit police force, off-duty personnel, to stay on their streets to protect that. So it was like a demilitarized zone in the middle of a war zone. But there was a police chief in Detroit who's now retiring, who turned Detroit around by good policing. It's possible, but why isn't it was a priority in Detroit after, decades of violence and the city being destroyed economically. They were selling houses in Detroit for $1. You remember that, CJ?
Yep, and they couldn't give them away.
They couldn't give them away. They were selling houses in Detroit for $1, and they could not get anybody to buy them because nobody would live in that town. But now it's turned around. Granted, it's a big city. There is crime, but the entire tenor has changed. Why haven't we seen this? Are we going to hear this in the re-election bid, that all he's done to bring to bear everything we can possibly do to bring the most dangerous city in Massachusetts under control? No, we haven't seen anything. And this is the problem. These politicians are worried about pay raises for their friends, making sure they get paid like they work in Boston, and nobody gives a damn about the public. And it is a tragedy. I mean, a 14-year-old child, a young man who will never get to live his life, never maybe get an education, turn his life around, and make the journey of life. He won't be able to do it because he was shot dead in the streets of Fall River. And another 29-year-old who's still fairly young, shot dead.
Well, I have a small problem. I was talking with our producer before the show aired, and actually, but even before you got here to the show. The city receives something called a Shannon grant. It's actually called the Charles E. Shannon Community Safety Initiative. And Fall River gets money for that. Now, let me tell you where this money goes. Supposed to go. Case management, street outreach, and intervention. $156,678. Community mobilization. $25,679. Education and employment. $85,513. Positive youth development and recreation. $54,076. Supervision. $206,778. And they break some of these things down with the outcomes. My question is this. Oh, and let me give you their assessment. Youth risk assessment. Youth in danger of engaging in risky behavior or gang activity, 0 or low risk, 0%. 59% at moderate risk. Youth exposed to the same risk factors as low-risk youth, as well as additional risk factors such as truancy. 41% are at high risk. Youth who are perpetrators or victims of shootings or stabbing violence and or are known gang members. Now, here's some stats that they don't want you to know.
Wow.
In Fall River, in 2020, Fall River reported having 58 street gangs with 74 gang members under 25. Conflict between the gangs is generally attributed to narcotic sales or the belief that disrespect has occurred from one gang to the other. The conflict escalates into violent confrontations, revenge shootings, stabbings, home invasions, robberies, beatings, random attacks, spray painting, and possession of firearms. Drug and firearms trafficking continue to be the two primary criminal activities from which gang members profit. This is where your Shannon grant money is going. This is something you don't know in Fall River. This is what the mayor of Fall River has. I want to know I want exact ways that this Shannon grant money is being spent. I don't want to find out that it's being spent for school resource officers, because have you heard of any community outreach at all, Chip? Have you heard about any positive youth development and recreation?
And if there is, we should. I have not heard from it, but let me tell you something, CJ. This really is mind-boggling. And you said that, what was it? 50? How much? 50% were at moderate risk.
59% are at moderate
59%
risk.
and 41 were at high risk. Okay,
right.
So what's 59 and 41?
100.
Right. So 100% of the youth in Fall River have a 50-50 chance of becoming gang members and criminals, and almost half are going to become gang members and criminals. So you don't think that's a problem? And you talked about outreach. You know, this is why they cancel history. The libbies, the left wingers, they want to cancel history because years ago, look, Fall River's never been a place that didn't have its problems, fighting. And I remember that documentary on Chris Herron on ESPN when they said they opened the dialogue with Fall River's a place where people punch first and ask questions later. And then we have the new documentary it's on about the satanic cults where they say, well, if you live in Fall River, you've probably done time. And when you went to prison, it's like a high school reunion. So this is what Fall River is looked upon by the rest of the country. And the thing is, when is it going to be time to change? The reason I'm saying this is when I got out of the military, which was a very long time ago, Mark Sullivan, who ran CFC with the state, established a program to have basically youth centers in all the project areas and the high-risk areas. And I was asked if I would be in the program, and they gave me the two most difficult places because they some of them were females and they didn't think they could survive. I had the Flint Drop-In Center and the Sunset Hill Drop-In Center. And in those centers, we allowed the youth to come together. We tried to establish things for them to do. We tried to direct them and show them what an education would do. And it worked. We turned a lot of these kids around. We gave them a different perspective on life. We showed them that education can get you money. I remember I taught a lesson that I didn't even plan to teach. When I first became a drop-in center, and I drove up to the Flint Drop-In Center, and there were 3 or 4 of these young kids that standing out in front, waiting for me to open the center. And I got out of my car, and it was actually a brand new car. I just bought a new car. And they said, wow, man, what a nice car and stuff like that, So I used that as a teaching moment. Rather, because the only people they knew that had nice cars were criminals and pimps. So they saw my car and they said, wow, that's a really nice car. And I said, yeah, I'm finishing up college on a GI Bill. I work. I got a good job because, I made sure that I educated myself and it showed them that there's a pathway other than crime. You can't fix everybody, but the thing is, these programs don't exist anymore. And we're talking a very long time ago. We had programs to try to stop this carnage, and they got put on a back shelf so they could spend their money on themselves. And look at what we have. So this is the call. We've said we've got to change the direction of Fall River. So everybody running for council, everybody running for school committee, and everybody running for mayor, you better start paying attention to what this city truly is and the stats that CJ just read. And if you don't have some kind of an idea to how to turn this around and focus our attention and our spending on public safety, education, and making Fall River a place you can live in with relative safety, you do not belong in office and you should be voted out.
I agree. And I'll tell you now, as you said, we need more programs that are going to curtail gang participation and shootings. But, Fall River's been fighting this for a long time. Goes back to the days when Eddie Lambert said Fall River has no gangs.
Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah.
You remember that?
Well, I remember that.
Yep. And for people who are, because I've already received a message, where are you getting these numbers? I'm getting these numbers directly from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. These are from reports that the Fall River Police Department have provided to the state. And you can get them online right off the bat from mass.gov/doc/2020/Shannon/brief/Fall River/download. That's a long thing to read out. But if you key in Shannon Grant, you'll see it comes up as Shannon CSI, which stands for Community Safety Initiative, and you can see the report yourself. Don't believe me, believe your own eyes.
Well, you remember one thing, CJ. That comment is what the politicians like to use. You can't, this is all BS, and Fall River is a beautiful place. If we say it enough and click our heels, it will become that. But that's not true. And let's say, look, this isn't only Fall River. Let's look at the reality. There have been movies based on true stories made, and I can't remember them all, but I remember a few off the top of my head that shows what these types of programs that get these at-risk youths into something to see that they can get along with each other, they can compete, they can turn their lives around and get educated. You remember the movie? And I can't remember the name of it now. Jesus, Samuel L. Jackson, true story based on a basketball coach who took over a high school program in, I believe it was California somewhere, made everybody on the team wear a sport coat and a tie, strict discipline, strict criteria about grades, and they resisted at first, and there were problems, but they persevered, and that program became a beacon and saved a lot of at-risk youths. And then they had The Rock. Everybody knows The Rock, the Gridiron Gang. True story of how a prison created a football team and the discipline that the inmates, the youth, the young inmates had from playing football and learning that working hard and winning a football game can really make you feel good, and know that if you do something positive, you get a positive result. And that became one of the most successful programs in juvenile detention centers. There's tons of these stories around. There was one about a chess club that they created. And there's one about, I think, what's her name? Meryl Streep as a violin teacher in inner city New York. This can be done, but it can only be done when you focus your attention on the problem, not run around saying, we don't deserve this. This is a really good place. You're talking bad about Fall River. You didn't talk bad about Fall River. What you did was you exposed the real Fall River. Just like that documentary on Fall River is showing what went on in Fall River with Carl Drew. And they try to ignore everything. And if you don't fix it, it doesn't get fixed. Ignoring it does not cure it. It only makes it worse.
Well, I want to, I agree with you there, but I want to do some comparisons real quick because we're running out of time. And I want to do some real comparisons. Brockton, 26% are at moderate risk, 12% at high risk. Listen to the differences, okay? 62% are low risk. And remember, low risk is youth in danger of engaging of risky behavior or gang activity. A low risk of happening. 26 and 12. 26 moderate, 12% high. Let's look at New Bedford. New Bedford. There we are, New Bedford. New Bedford is much like Fall River. 0% at low risk, 10% at moderate risk, 90% at high risk. So that tells you a lot. There are 31 street gangs in New Bedford, 172 gang members under 25. What did Brockton have? Brockton had 102 street gangs with 738 gang members under 25. Yet, they have lower numbers.
Yep. Much lower.
Excuse me. That was, I made a mistake. That was Boston. Much lower. They have 10 street gangs in Brockton with 100 to 150 active gang members. That's it. That's Brockton. And everyone talks so bad about Brockton. I mean, we hear it all the time about Brockton, how bad it is. Let me look at one that's kind of like Fall River. That's Lynn. 20 street gangs, 200 plus gang members, 11% at low risk, 43% at moderate risk, 46% at high risk. So it's similar.
Similar, yeah. But the thing is, Brockton is, see, that's the key, CJ. These stats are very important. I want you to go on with it, but you compare them to Fall River. But the problem is that they're ignored. You see, nobody wants to hear that. They point to Brockton and say Brockton's worse than Fall River. New Bedford's worse. I don't care who's worse than Fall River. I'm only interested in Fall River. I want to see some programs instituted to change Fall River. But when you look at these numbers that you're going over, and you're going to continue to, it is staggering to look at how much basically at-risk youth that we have. Fall River is basically leading the pack. We have virtually 99 to 100% of our youth. We don't have anybody in a not at risk category. And most of these cities, even though they're bad, are better than us. So, this is a it's a waste, because these are the people that are going to grow up to be the citizens of Fall River. And if we continue down this path, our citizenry is going to be made up of criminals, because everybody else that can will move out. And the people who don't have the resources to move out will be victims of these criminals. And it's wrong. And it's just a tragedy. I don't care. The fact is that when a 14-year-old gets shot down on the street, 29, when gunfire erupts in the streets, the only good thing I can say about Fall River, very rarely do you hear defund the police, because at least people in this community so far are supporting our policing and and understand the fact that we need police to maintain order. And you know something? It's time that we began to focus on what our real problems are, the real problems that have been buried.
Yeah, so open up your eyes, Mr. Mayor, and understand. You're the mayor of Crime City, not COVID City. You're not the COVID mayor. You're the crime mayor. Okay? These stats proved it. And you need to do something to enact programs to stop this. This is an election year. If you want to make a significant change and you want to make a significant impact, do something to impact upon it. Well, enough about that, because we've only got about a minute or so.
And you never have enough time. So.
I want to make two announcements. Number one, Jordan James Silvia just took out papers to be mayor and city councilor. I don't know how smart that was, but he's taking papers out for both offices. Maybe he hasn't decided which office he wants. Maybe he's not serious. I don't know. Secondly, they're available. They've come out to the City Council under the provisions of the City of Fall River Charter, Division 1, Section 37-41. The following citizens' initiative is presented for immediate action or ballot as required in the Division 1, Section 39 through 41. We, the registered voters of the City of Fall River, hereby petition the Fall River City Council to place and enact, if necessary, the following question on the November 2021 ballot. Shall the City of Fall River repeal its participation in the Community Preservation Act effective upon passage? We, the registered voters of the City of Fall River, request that this question be placed on the ballot as a binding referendum, submitted by the three people who sponsored it. We, the undersigned registered voters of the City of Fall River, hereby demand that the City Council order a binding referendum be placed on the November 2021 ballot to repeal the Community Preservation Act. So we're real now, and that's that. So the petitions will be circulating soon. Well, with that, we're out of time. I want to thank you for letting us into your home. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, wear a mask, and hold your politicians accountable. Have a great day.